Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wednesdays with Welch, our new series that we've been having online, Facebook, and other social media channels to talk about different topics that are important, not only to our community, but to our Commonwealth as well, and especially around different events and different, the aftermath, if you will, of COVID-19. And many people are facing issues, personal issues, financial, in this case, housing issues. And our office gets a lot of phone calls about about these type of questions when people do face them. And we're very lucky to have Senator Brendan Crighton with us today, who's expert in housing issues in the legislature, and was one of the, if not the key person that authored legislation around protections for people as a result of COVID-19 when it comes to housing and evictions and mortgages. So he's done some great work. And I just wanted to give Senator Crighton, I want to give you a minute if you could. First of all, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you doing this. And just wanted to give you a minute. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about, where you're from, how you got to where you are, and, how you ended up ultimately being I guess, a legislator, a senator.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Senator, for having me on. So, I'm a state senator from the 3rd Essex District, from the great city of Lynn. I represent the communities of Lynn, Lynnfield, Marblehead, Saugus, and Swampscott. And I really got my start at the state house 15 years ago, believe it or not. This June, 15 years. It's been a long time, and much of that was as a staff person to former Senator, now Mayor Tom McGee. But during that time, I got to be a staffer while you were a senator there, Jim. And you can always tell how great a legislator is by how they treat their staff and how they treat other staff. And you were always great to me as a staff person. And now that we get to work together in the Senate as colleagues, you've been a great mentor as well on a wide range of issues, policy matters, but also just how to approach local issues and constituent services, which is really our main focus and top priority, is making sure that we're taking care of the people we represent. So you've certainly helped me there. And it's, an honor to be on your show to chat a little bit about housing. And I should just pause too and say, if there's any screaming in the background, I apologize. I have, as you do, we have young children, and working remotely and providing full-time daycare here has been the biggest challenge of my adult life. But you know how that goes. So please excuse the noise.
I do, and I envy you, because it's such a great part of time in your life. My kids are a little bit older now, so their screaming sounds a lot different than the crying of a younger child. But yes, it is very difficult and challenging for families right now, especially around the issue of daycare, and that we could do a whole show on that. But
No, I didn't mean to joke about it. It's probably that and transportation, the hardest part of keeping people, getting people back to work, and making sure that their kids are getting, their attention, education as well.
Absolutely. But so we have you on to talk about housing issues,
Yep.
which are very important as well. And we get a lot of phone calls to our office. Many people, and we've gotten calls from constituents who have gotten notices from their landlords or their property managers. And there seems to be a lot of questions right now about what a tenant's rights are when it comes to, evictions. I know that we've passed legislation and, to put in protections for tenants. Can you just, do the best you can in terms of
Yeah.
plain words, try and explain what tenants have on their side when it comes to dealing with issues related to the COVID-19?
Absolutely. So, a month or so ago, the legislature passed a bill, and thank you for all your work on it, establishing a moratorium on both foreclosures and evictions. And just in terms of everyone's rights as a tenant, we passed this law in order to keep people safely in their homes. We didn't want anyone to be out in the street. We were focused on the immediate, I think, public health issues surrounding COVID-19. And obviously, it's difficult to not interact with folks if you don't have a roof over your head. So, we acted pretty quickly, and we really, very few exceptions. I would say that tenants are, have the right to stay. There are no evictions currently going on. The only exception is the case of criminal activity or if there are safety concerns from another tenant in the building. So the eviction process is frozen really from the start to the finish. So the notices to quit can't be issued by landlords. So if your landlord's doing that, that's illegal under our law. Cases can't move forward in the housing court for this time period, and people can't be evicted from their homes, as I already said. So this is going to last to August 18th or 45 days after the governor lifts the COVID state of emergency. I should also mention, in terms of tenant rights, if they're able to document that their financial loss is a result of COVID-19, we also freeze any negative credit reporting or late fees that could be initiated by landlords. So really, everyone's protected, but unfortunately, there are still bad actors out there that are trying to mislead folks.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a great segue, and thank you for the explanation of the overall legislation and the rights that tenants have on their side as a result of COVID-19. But we've heard many stories from constituents of ours that have received, threatening letters, quite frankly, and we've seen the copies of them from property management companies that are telling the tenants that they have to pay immediately. And many of these people have forwarded this letter on to us because it actually has my name on it. As the property manager says, contact your legislator, and they can pass a law that will pay your rent, which obviously is very misleading if you can imagine. But at the same time, what have we done to try and protect tenants when they do get a threatening letter like this in the mail from their property manager? And are these people safe in their homes? Do they need to do anything in response, or is this just a threatening letter from the property manager that they just need to take it as it is with a grain of salt?
Yeah, so certainly, again, just to remind folks, you're safe in your homes. If you get a letter stating you need to pay immediately, you do not have to pay immediately. So the rent will be owed at a certain point. So overtime the law doesn't excuse any tenant from paying rent. Overtime you will owe the money back on rent, but there's nothing that's due immediately during this crisis. You have, like I said, until August 18th or 45 days after. I would say for the immediate focus of getting letters like this, obviously, it's certainly increases people's anxiety, and some people are going to pay because of these bad actors breaking the law. I would encourage people to get in touch with their local housing consumer education center to help navigate the situation. I'm not sure out there, who that would necessarily be, but also I would just say you should definitely report any of these, they're called self-help evictions, which is basically the landlord trying to force folks out of their homes by acting as if they're trying to be helpful in the situation. So, any of that coercion that's going on, I would definitely report it. The Attorney General's office has been a great partner throughout this whole process. So I would give them a call if you do believe that your landlord is going to try to coerce you into leaving by, whether it's locking you out or removing possessions or any of these other tactics that are illegal. But you should give a call to the Attorney General's office at 617-727-8400. Again, 617-727-8400. They've been a great partner for the start on this, and already going after many landlords that are committing these acts.
Thanks. Thank you for that explanation. I think it's needs to be said, and I think you did a good job of saying it, but it's not that we don't want people paying their rent. They're ultimately responsible for the rent. It'll be, at some point, due. There's no question about that. But if they don't have the means and the ability to pay their rent right now, they cannot be evicted because of as a result of COVID-19. And I think that's the issue, and that's the question that many people are struggling with when they get these letters, because most people obviously want to do the right thing and pay their rent, but if they've been furloughed or if they've been laid off or if they've lost their job completely, and they don't have the ability to pay, they cannot be evicted solely because of non-payment of rent, because of loss of income, especially if they are able to document it, as you said, as a result of the COVID-19.
One other piece too, that I failed to mention is, this isn't an all or nothing matter here. Certainly, if you're able to pay, some amount, you should, and you should, for the landlords out there, the reasonable landlords, keep that open line of communication, and try to rearrange how the payments are done. Obviously, once this emergency is up and rents are due, having that payment plan already in place will certainly help ease things moving forward.
Right. And that's a good point. Working and talking and being honest and open with your landlord, and hopefully vice versa, that can alleviate a lot of issues as well. But sometimes, and in this case, in our district, it's a very large out-of-state property management company that unfortunately has been sending threatening letters that we have forwarded on to the Attorney General, and her office is working on it as well. But the last thing a person needs when they're struggling financially as a result of nothing that they've done themselves. I mean, this is a worldwide pandemic that we were it happened very quickly, and a lot of people were out of work very quickly. I appreciate that explanation. And again, people can contact our office. We can certainly inform them of their rights. But at the same time, if they are getting threatening letters, we are trying to be in communication with the Attorney General's office, just so they have an understanding of what the scale is out there of what people are getting for responses. Now, you had mentioned the moratorium will expire on August 18th, or at least expected to expire on August 18th, or 45 days after Governor Baker lifts the COVID-19 state of emergency, whichever is earlier. When it does expire, will tenants have to pay back all the rent at once? Or I think we talked a little bit about it, work out a payment plan. What will their rights be, say, on August 18th when that is lifted?
So, again, we'd encourage people to try to work out payment plans. Clearly, they're going to be, landlords that are unwilling to do so. I would say if folks are having a hard time at that point paying their rent, or suspect they are going to try to use some of the state programs out there that could help. So RAFT in particular comes up as one of the more frequently used ones. It's a state-funded program that provides short-term financial assistance to low-income families to pay rent. Your local housing consumer education center can help you with that as well in the process. I would, the legislature has, just more recently under COVID, we increased by $5 million the RAFT funding, and I suspect we're going to continue to try to use this program to help ease people back. As the economy hopefully starts to return and people are getting their salaries and wages return to a somewhat normal level, help kind of provide that buffer zone in between if they're having trouble paying rent. So again, I don't have much specifics other than that. We hope that, and I think it's in the landlord's interest to work out a plan. I mean, evictions are costly, also, time consuming, and, as a tenant, do your best to pay and set up a payment plan and keep that communication open.
Right. Well, I think it's good advice, and that's what we're trying to relate to people. And it's the legislation or the rules that were put in, guidelines that were put in place, were in no way to just exempt people from paying their bills or paying their rent or paying their mortgage. It's just it was put in place because we were in very unprecedented times that required unprecedented action to keep people from going into bankruptcy or becoming homeless or, other bad, societal things that could happen once their income, disappears. So, it's just a good point to maintain that communication with your landlord or your property manager. If you can, try and set up a payment plan or set up some sort of plan. And the feedback that I've gotten, and I don't know if you can add on this, is most situations that we've heard from people have said that their landlords have been very good about it. Have tried to work with them, have tried to, work out a payment plan, understand that they have an issue. But then there's some that, especially that are on the larger scale, out of state type property managers, a little bit more threatening and a little bit more demanding. So I guess it all depends on your landlord, if it's a local person or if it's a out of state or a larger company. So
that's what we're hearing out here in my district. Certainly, I think, landlords are reaching out, or we're reaching out to landlords just to talk and check in. And, for the most part, they're saying they're working, plans with their tenants, and the eviction casework isn't, piling up by any means. And I think same thing on the flip side, tenants have largely expressed, other than, some of these bad actors, that they're working out payment plans. So, everyone says the sky's going to fall when you do something like this. We, recognize, like you said, these are unprecedented times, and public health was our primary concern, but also the economic health obviously plays a big role in that. And, our bill here in Massachusetts, was considered the strongest in the country. Many of other states implemented similar proposals, but, we're pretty proud of the work we did on a bipartisan basis, something that, had, really little objection. And we were able to do something that normally takes a long time in a matter of a couple of weeks. And I think it's because everyone felt a sense of urgency. So thank you, Senator, for always picking up the phone to let me know your opinion, and always taking my calls on these matters. Obviously we're on kind of different ends of the states, but we share many of the same local issues and concerns.
Absolutely. It's one of the great things about being in the legislature is, you go to the state house and you work with people from all different areas of the state, which you think are going to be completely different from you, but you find out, their communities that they represent, just like you had mentioned, have many of the same issues that we face here in Western Mass and the greater Springfield area. So Senator Crighton, I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for answering a few questions regarding, evictions and rights of tenants. And I think everything you stated is very good advice. It's information that we'll definitely pass on to our constituents. And I just wanted to, again, thank you for coming on, and maybe just give you a brief 30 seconds or so, just to any last tidbits that you can share with people that might be helpful for them as they're going through this process.
Well, I would just say contact your state legislator, your state senator, if you have any issues. No, it's I appreciate coming on. I think one of the challenges here is getting the word out there. So certainly you're providing that through your program, and just spreading the word and educating consumers and tenants. But thank you for doing this. I know what I'm going to do every Wednesday now. I'm going to tune into Wednesdays with Welch. So we'll have the whole family watch it. Shut off the cartoons for a bit.
Yes, we're trying to get the ratings up the best we can, but we're trying, as you can see, we're trying to do a little bit more informal type conversation, and hopefully the issues we discuss are helpful to people. And if you ever decide to do one, please look me up, and I'd be happy to return the favor for you.
You find an alliteration that works quite well. We'll think about it.
Well, Senator, thank you again. I appreciate you coming on with us, and we'll see you soon, hopefully down at the State House, and hopefully we'll be getting closer back to normal as soon as possible. So again, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Senator. Take care.
Thank you.